At this time, I would like to present our next artist, who is our Maui boy, Mr. Noah Harder. His program is titled The Art of Noah Harder.
There he is.
Hi, Noah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Noah.
How's it going today?
Great.
Awesome. Great.
So I just want to introduce myself again for everyone. My name is Noah Harders. I'm from Waikapu, Maui. And a little bit of backstory on this installation and this opportunity that I was able to go to Hilo alongside all of these amazing, amazing florists that I've looked up to for all of these years. So to be alongside them really was a really awesome experience.
So, well, are we ready to roll out the video?
Let's roll.
Good.
Okay, great.
Let it roll.
He is able to create worldly wearable pieces and large-scale installation. He shows that there are no limits as to what we can create with nature. His exhibitions have been at the Honolulu Museum of Art and also at the San Francisco De Young Museum. His artistry is bound by his technical skill in floristry and appreciation of traditional Hawaiian art and craft. May I present Noah Hardy. Hello, welcome.
Hello, everybody. I am so honored to be here. I just, every opportunity that I get like this, it's kind of just a little reminder that I'm on the right path and following my dream and doing what I love to do. So I'm super stoked to be here to share. So I'm gonna start off with a little introduction because it's kind of gonna give you guys a better idea of the kind of art that I do and how I utilize flowers, my background in floristry, and kind of how that all transformed over the last 10 years that I've been doing flowers. So I am from Maui. My name is Noah Harders, sorry. I'm from Maui, from a little town called Waikapu. It's up in the valley. My family's been living there for 7 or 8 generations, and we still live on the same land and still farm the same land that my great-great-grandparents used to farm on. And that's where I draw a lot of my inspiration, and that's kind of where I started off in life as an artist with my creativity. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm so sorry. Every time I get up in front of people, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. I did write a whole speech and I was like, am I gonna just read this? But okay, starting off with Waikapu. It can be translated 2 ways. Waikapu, which is sacred waters, and Waikapu, which is water of the conch. And that's kind of the story, the legend that I resonate with a lot. The legend is that there was a magic conch that was hidden up in the cave in the valley, guarded by guards. And that conch would be able to be blown through the lava tubes, and it would be able to be heard throughout the island. And I kind of resonate with that because fortunately my art has kind of traveled across the seas and across the world. So like that conch shell, like that sound, I get to kind of spread my love and my art for my love for nature around the world. I'm gonna kind of take you to the beginning of my art. I've always been an artist my whole life. My grandma set up this little PlayStation outside with a sink and all of the old pots and pans, and I used to make like mud sculptures and stick forks and knives in it and go onto the farm and rip decals off of the old trucks and bend them into different shapes. So I've always looked at everything around me in a slightly different way, and that's kind of what I like to try to do with my floral art. We are surrounded by all of this beauty, all of this nature. We see it every day, but I like to kind of reimagine that mundane object that we look at, you know. And that's kind of like driven me to look at things in a different way. It's driven me to kind of take all of the technical skills that I have learned through these 10 years of floristry, but reimagining that, using the techniques, the traditional techniques, the bread and butter techniques, all of those tips and tricks that I learned from all of the florists that I worked under before. You take all of that and then kind of flip it upside down and do it my own way. And my whole life have always been out of the box. I've never been in a box. I've never had to be in a box. My family was very like, let me be free with my creativity. They let me pretty much do whatever I want without hurting anybody. I went to college in Chicago and I was there for photography. I used to take macro pictures of flowers and Photoshop them onto buildings, Photoshop them onto people's faces. And when I came home, I was like, okay, well, nobody's gonna want their family portrait with plants Photoshopped on their face. So how am I gonna make money? And I went on Craigslist and found a delivery position for a florist. Started washing buckets, delivering flowers, never touched a flower for 2 years. And then I quit that job and got to touch all the flowers that I want. And now, after all of these years, I just like to be funky and to have fun. You know, there's no right or wrongs, there's no limits to what we can do. I love to manipulate nature. I love to dissect flowers into all the tiny little pieces. During COVID, so we did have no work. We had no weddings, we had no tourism. That's basically like 99% of our work here is from the tourism industry. So during COVID, I had all of these ideas for years and years and years I've been always inspired by traditional Hawaiian art, specifically the feather lei making. And it always tripped me out and it always blew my mind to learn about the process of them going out into nature. They put the sticky sap on the branches and the birds would land on it. They would collect a few feathers off of each bird, release the bird so that it could go and grow more feathers, repeat the process until they had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of feathers that then they would make cloaks and helmets and lei. And the process as well as the art itself just always blew my mind. So during COVID, no work, all these ideas in my head, I started to make these wearable pieces, and they're masks, they're headpieces, they're bodysuits. It was just a chance for me to step out of the box and to do all of these crazy ideas that I wasn't gonna get paid for, because nobody wants a mask for their wedding, unfortunately. So, you know, during COVID, I got all the freedom to do all of these really fun projects, and through the power of social media, you know, I got to travel around the world, and I've just been able to spend a lot of my time experimenting and doing all of these fun projects. I do these very intricate mask works, and then I also do these very large-scale installations in my work. So in this project, I kind of wanted to bring those two worlds together to show you folks a little bit of the manipulation and the dissection of flowers with also, utilizing just these really cool found materials. So I was inspired, my installation was inspired, if you guys look up in these really big trees, there's all of the ferns that are up there growing. Driving on the road, you'll see trees with orchids growing on them in the forest, and I just found myself this entire time that I've been here looking up into the trees. So I wanted to take that idea and bring that into my installation. I also wanted to funk it up a little by putting flowers up there that there would never be a beehive ginger growing up all the way in the tree. So it's kind of bringing together these juxtapositions and materials that would never grow the way that I'm using them. So this branch, I attached some beehive ginger to it, and I'm gonna put this up in the tree as if this was growing up like these ferns up in the trees behind us. I also am gonna show you guys a little bit of the flower manipulation that I do, and taking something like the rattlesnake that we've all seen and used and loved. These are really fun. You can curl them. I stick a wire through there, curl them, and now you have like these really cool shapes that you can use. But in this one, I kind of wanted to show how I like to hybridize and like make my own flowers. So I took the little spikes from the bromeliad, broke those off, and then my best friend in the whole entire world, floral glue. I've probably gone through like hundreds of these tubes of floral glue. I took the floral glue, put it on the end of here, and stuck them in so that it created something that literally doesn't exist, but now it does. So I'm gonna use these in my installation, and with all of my work, with all of my installations, I like to say that I'm creating like these little worlds. And in my worlds, there's nothing off limits. There's nothing that's like wrong. Anything can exist. And I'm creating this installation that's gonna be growing up into the tree, and I want that to be like its own little world. And everything that exists there only exists in that world, and it only exists in that moment. So that kind of goes back to the tea ceremony that we had, and that was the one, not the only thing, but the biggest thing that stuck with me. The woman that was guiding the tea ceremony, she said a few times that this moment is never gonna happen again, and we're with people that we might never be in the same room again with. And I really took that. I got chicken skin when she said it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna create a moment that's never gonna exist again. And that's what I wanna do with this installation. So it's just, yeah, thank you. A little like, bit about me. I've just always been different, and I've always been scared to share my work. And if any of you are familiar with my Instagram, it's like very out there, and it's these like, you see me up here, I'm all like, oh my gosh, but in my pictures I have this sense of like pride and this like power behind me, because I'm channeling the power of these plants and these things that I'm wearing. So it's like my little armor that I get to create, and yeah, again, will never exist anywhere else. So these are like a fun little thing that I just thought of earlier. Everybody in this planning process has probably been very annoyed with me because we were supposed to put in flower orders, and I just don't really work like that. I like to go out into the world. I like to walk around the forest and be like, oh my gosh, can we cut this branch because there's orchids growing on it? And I'm gonna use this in my installation too. Kind of, again, the idea of those ferns up in the tree that I want to recreate. Nature is just so damn incredible that it can do all of this by itself and needs no help from us. So yeah, just going out, seeing what speaks to me. I truly never know what I'm gonna make until I start to make it. With my masks, I pick the material, I'll sit here, or I'll actually sit on the ground in the forest, and I'll rip it apart. I'll start to, my mom always makes fun of me for doing this, but I hold it up to my face, and I'm like, oh, well, that could be a cool shape, and like, I could use this as a horn, and fill in all of this, all of the little pieces here, and that's where my process starts, is by finding the material. I literally had no idea what this installation was gonna be, like, on last night. So it's all a learning process for myself as well. You'll see here at this branch up here, I kind of deconstructed the beehive ginger. And this always makes people cringe, but it's my favorite thing in the world to do. Take the beautiful flower and just destroy it. And first off, you get this super cute little top that I've kind of reminded me of like little mushrooms or something. So I'm gonna try to glue them on the branches in little clusters so that they look like little mushroom moments. But I took the petals from the beehive and I kind of, with the floral glue, put a little dab on there. And I've created this like scale that obviously doesn't exist in real life, but it does in my world. This glue is incredible. So I'm just literally using these things, reimagining them. I wanted it to look like these flowers, then kind of grew into a moss itself and started growing up the tree branch. I also wanted to touch a little bit on all of the foraging that I did. Oops, sorry. I was connected with a really, really amazing farmer. Her name is Kea, and she, for the last 3 days, has driven me around the entire island, stopping wherever I wanted her to, and filling her truck up multiple times with, you'll see all of the stuff that I have over there at the installation, but filled her truck up multiple times. I want to touch on foraging because it's something that we all do, and it's a huge part of my practice as well, but I like to practice like sustainable foraging as much as possible. And when we went up into the mountain, Saddle Road up over to Waimea last night, we stopped and picked some a'ali'i, which grows plentiful up there. You know, I don't ever, especially with natives, I never take any unless there's an abundance there and unless I have permission to. And you know, I always want to give back in some way. So I also listen to my gut. You know, there could be the most insane flower I've ever seen a foot away from me, but if my gut's telling me not to pick it, then I'm gonna respect nature and the land, and I'm not gonna touch it. So sustainable foraging. When we went up to forage a'ali'i, we took off all of these dead flowers here, and these flowers are all filled with seeds. So every branch that we cut, we ripped off all of the dead seeds. You kind of shake it up, smash them so that you can spread the seeds and hopefully they'll regrow. So just a little like being mindful. We're surrounded by all of this, but it doesn't mean that it's like all there for our taking. So just being mindful of where you're taking things from, not to damage that, not to take away like the oomph of that area. Another little like manipulation, just example that I just experimented with this morning. I put one of these long orchid sticks. They're bendable, kind of. Oops, they're not bendable. This one is bendable. So I went with this bind wire, and it's a wire that's covered in paper, so it won't like cut into the flower or the stem that you're trying to attach. So I took some of this bind wire and took the bendable stick, wrapped the stick along the length of the areca, and now I have like this really fun leaf that I can make into any shape, and it just gives you like a fun something a little different than what we're used to seeing. So yeah, I just like to use what's around us and switch it up so that I'm not using the same thing that everybody else does. Later on, if you guys come over to my area over there where I'm working, you'll kind of see that I'm gonna try to mimic what I was seeing in nature with, oh, there was a pop of orange orchids up there, but then on the tree right next to it, there was a huge fern, and right under that fern, there might have been another little orchid plant growing. So I'm gonna use all of these different things and these like hybrid little flowers that I made in little clusters to try to recreate the look in nature. Yeah, I have a ton of this in my installation, and I've always loved, it's the palm inflorescence, and this is like pretty much the ending stage. It's usually covered with a bunch of little palm seeds. But you see these, like if you drive down the road over there, there's that gulch with hundreds of these trees with these gorgeous white inflorescence hanging down, and they've just always been so striking to me. You can use them in so many different ways. They can also be part of the mechanics. I use them a lot in installations because you can secure this to your archway or whatever your install is, and then you can actually just use these little tendrils as like support systems for your flowers. You know, maybe this is hard. Maybe I will attach this to the structure, and then I'll go in with like a glass jar, and I'll zip tie the glass jar deep in here, cover it with moss, and now I have a water source, and I can use all of these tendrils as support systems, sticking the stem down, and right down there would be my jar of water. So now it has a water source, but it's hidden. There's no oasis. It's just a little jar with some chicken wire. And yeah, so I like to use them a lot in my installations because they're just so fun. They create a lot of texture. It's a lot of drama. I have like 10 of them over there, and they're all kind of just like dripping down the tree, and it looks really, really otherworldly. And they come in so many different colors. You know, every different variety of palm has a different inflorescence. Some of them are really little. Some of them go from this stage into like this really, really bright red berry. And, you know, there's some palms at my house that have this really, really rich chocolate brown inflorescence. And I get to go through our farm and kind of go through the palm forest that we have, and depending on the installation or the color story, I'll pick different palm varieties for that. Yeah. I think that was everything I have to share, yeah.
We'll have more questions for you over there.
Okay, cool. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. My name is Noah Harders. I'm here from Waikupu. I'm honored to be here on the Big Island in Hilo for the HFNA Floral Expo. As you see behind me, this is my final piece. It was an installation and a collaboration with the attendees of the expo. I utilized many different varieties of locally foraged products in this design, and I just kind of wanted, my whole concept was to create a world, and to create a world that maybe doesn't exist in this world. It doesn't exist because none of these things would ever have grown in these places. They wouldn't have been grouped together, you know, maybe they're from different climates. A lot of these mossy branches were from way up on the mountain, and then we came all the way down to the sea to pick some of these other foliages, these tropical flowers, and I just wanted to blend all of these things in to create something that maybe wouldn't have existed in real life. So along those lines of creating a world, I get to use all of this incredible product that I found and got from Greenpoint on the Big Island. And I just really wanted to make a safe space for anything to be able to happen, and that's kind of what I liked my art to do, and the story that I like my art to share is you can do anything, you can create anything. There are no limits, you know, there are no boundaries. You can merge different plants together. As you see right behind here, I tried to create some kind of a hybrid plant. So I merged two flowers together that literally would never ever be able to merge together, a bromeliad and a rattlesnake ginger. And I created this hybrid species, and now it's in my world where it can exist. As you can see up here and trailing down, kind of spilling out onto the ground, I used a lot of the palm inflorescence, and as you drive around the island, you'll kind of just see forests of these palms and these dripping white palm inflorescence contrasting against all of the green. So I wanted to pull that concept in and also utilize those palm inflorescence as the actual structure. So everything in this installation is attached directly to the tree. There's no mechanics other than a couple metal stakes that I use down here, but everything is zip tied or wired directly to the tree. And then I got to use the mossy branches and the palm inflorescence as the actual mechanics, and let's just say that's like my natural chicken wire. So I was able to weave and create all of this line and texture with those natural mechanics. Again, I just want to thank HFNA and Greenpoint and all of the other sponsors and everybody here that worked so tirelessly to create this amazing exhibit, and I'm honored to be here, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Noah. That was fantastic. Thank you for sharing the wonders of your botanical world and how you see things. And we were so grateful to have been there to sort of observe your creative processes. It was so wonderful and so spontaneous and so beautiful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Hitomi.
Well, Mr. Noah, we have some fun questions from our viewing audience for you. The first one is, do you use any special tools to deconstruct the flowers, or is it mostly done by hand?
I am gonna say mostly by hand. I use a variety of different hand tools, whether it be different knives or X-Acto blades or wiring to shred. There's many different tools that I use, but everything I do by hand. I enjoy the process of getting my hands in there, and sometimes it's really gross and slimy, and I think that's just all part of the experience. And
I love that.
just like flower slime is one of my absolute least favorite feelings in the world. It makes me cringe every single time, but it's all part of the experience. So yeah, it's all by hand.
Okay, great.
Correct.
Great. The next question is, are there other adhesives that you recommend or don't recommend?
Um, there in the floral world, I only know of a couple adhesives, which is the cold floral glue. I have experimented with hot glue, and as you can imagine, that doesn't really work for all delicate flowers. Sometimes the hot glue can burn right through the petals. So, yeah, there's cold glue, Oasis cold glue that you can use for flowers. I think there's also some different kinds of hot glue that you can dip your flowers in for larger scale things. But honestly, any kind of adhesive, it depends on the how long you need the piece to last. If you're doing something for weddings like corsages or personal flowers, I would stick more towards the Oasis glue because it's designed for flowers. But in my line of work, I'm usually creating something just for that moment and just for the photograph or just for the video. So I I can use hot glue if it's needed just for little touch ups, and yeah, so there are lots of different adhesives that are viable for floral.
Great, thank you for that. Do you ever save and dry the palm inflorescence to use later on?
Yeah. Um I love the palm inflorescence in all stages. When it's fresh, it's a lot more pliable and you can shape it into all kinds of different forms tailored to the actual installation that you're doing. Or when it's dry, it now becomes this really sturdy structural piece. And I've seen a lot of people use that in their designs as more of like a base structure. So yeah, I do use the palm inflorescence. It's almost like chicken wire. You use it until it starts to fall apart. So
Okay, one
yeah.
more question from our viewing audience, and thank you to all those that submitted questions. Can you discuss how you use Photoshop to help with design and with engaging clients?
hmm That's Photoshop in my proposals has become a really useful tool for me. A lot of the times I'm trying to explain to a client like my grand vision of a large scale installation, but it can be hard to get your point across in wedding work. And with our clients, we will put together mood boards, we'll pull inspiration pictures that will kind of show the client the direction that we are going in. But I've found in my work that it's hard for me, especially just getting the words out. It's hard for me personally to explain. So I just take to my creativity to explain it. And I will go onto Photoshop. I'll get a picture of the venue or of the space that I'm designing in, and I'll source different elements of the actual materials that I'll be using, and leaf by leaf, flower by flower, I will piece together a rendering of the installation that I'm proposing to the client. So it has become a very useful tool, and it's also become a very useful tool when working in large groups so that I have an actual rendering of this is, with flowers, you never can say this is exactly what we're doing because you don't know how your product's coming in. But the rendering through Photoshop, I'm able to give a better picture to my client and my team. Yeah.
Excellent. So I have a question.
Mhm.
I guess, first of all, I said, oh my gosh, your design to me is like nature's graffiti. And
Yes, I
and I
loved
just
that.
I thought that was really a sort of a perfect mix of words to describe. So what I want to know is, when did your vision actually solidify for this particular installation? Because you were collecting, and you were
Mhm.
thinking, obviously, along the way, how it was going to come together. How did it all happen, and how did you also work in those manipulated components?
Yeah, so with projects like this, especially going to the Big Island, to Hilo, it's so lush, and I just wanted to see what would pop out to me when I was driving around. I um got connected with a friend, Kea Keolanui, and she took me all over the farm, all up into the mountain, literally all over the island. And every time we stopped to forage, I was thinking of how all of these elements would come together, but I really didn't know exactly how they were going to blend when it was all there. So my main inspiration was the canopies and the tree ferns that were up in the canopies. And then I saw the banyan tree and I was like, okay, well, I could try to recreate what I'm seeing in the canopies with all the tree ferns up into this tree, into the banyan tree, while still creating this world that wouldn't have existed. So I just have never seen it. Maybe it does exist out there, but never seen a variegated hala 15 feet up in a banyan tree. So that's kind of, yeah, I started to play around with these ideas, my main idea being the canopy and the tree ferns. So bringing in all of these materials and then kind of just seeing what brought my eye here and what brought my eye over here, and then utilizing these new hybrid flowers that I created with the manipulation and setting them around the installation as if they had their little place to grow there. So creating a little world with things that actually don't even exist and making a safe space for it all.
That's quite fabulous. I saw that you really got your helpers around you into your imaginary world so that they
Yes.
can start to render exactly what was in your vision. So
Yes.
great job. Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Hitomi.
I have
Yes.
a similar question for you, Noah. How do you mobilize your team of assistants to complete the work as you envision it when it is large scale like this one?
So it's a little bit different when it's wedding work or when it's a paid client because I have a specific vision that I need to stick to. But for this installation, I think it was just about like creating community and letting people, maybe my team would disagree, but I felt like I was being very letting them have their own creativity, and I just wanted it to be a collaboration, and I wanted them to see where my mind was going. So I would come in and say, "Oh, I think these mossy branches would create a really nice line coming up the tree." And then they would kind of go and put all the mossy branches in, and they got their eyes starting to create the line. And I think they started to get my vision as the time went on throughout that collaboration process.
I
In
think they came
my
into your world.
They did, and I really appreciate them coming into the world and having no expectations, or just, yeah, having fun with it, because that's what it's all about.
Uh,
But when it comes to my wedding work, I'll make this quick because I think we're out of time. But I have a group. We've kind of all been working together for a long time. If there's new people in the group, I like to either set them up with somebody that has been working with me for a long time and knows my vision, knows my way of working and mechanics and all of that. So yeah, I think just having a solid team and having people that are willing and able to listen and follow directions, then it'll all make it happen.
I'm sure they all love your magic because it's fun. What you create is extremely beautiful and very fun. So thank you so much for your
Thank
magic,
you.
Noah. And we really, truly enjoyed having you.